He never expected to see her again. Not after the divorce, not after the silence, not after the choices that burned bridges so completely. But at his best friend's birthday party, amid the glitter and laughter, his world stopped. She was there. And in her arms, 2 children with eyes that mirrored his own. His carefully controlled empire began to crack in that single heartbeat. What happens when the woman you let go reappears with the children you never knew existed? Children who carry your face. Love, regret, and fate collide in a way no fortune could ever shield. Hello my beautiful family and friends, and welcome to the very first story on Mr. Crown Stories. I'm so glad you're here. This channel is all about bringing you powerful, emotional stories that will touch your heart and keep you hooked. If you're ready to enjoy this first story, click subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And tomorrow, I'll be back with another story just as captivating as this one. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Now, let us begin. Sit back, relax, and let this story unfold. The ballroom glittered like a universe made of chandeliers. Glass clinked, music swelled, laughter circled in rich, gilded echoes. Adrian Cole, billionaire entrepreneur, leaned casually against the marble bar, his tuxedo as precise as the reputation he carried. Untouchable, ambitious, a man who had everything, except peace. On nights like this, he wore his mask flawlessly. Smile for the right people, shake hands at the right moments, let the rumors roll off his back. Inside though, the noise only highlighted the hollow. Success, after all, didn't fill the silence of empty penthouses or the ache of unanswered questions. Across the room, hidden behind the crowd's glamour, a woman clutched her purse tightly against her side. Naomi James hadn't planned to come tonight. She had avoided these circles for years, building her quiet life far from the headlines, far from him. But her best friend had insisted. Just one night, just a birthday, just a chance to breathe outside of motherhood and work. Motherhood. The word itself tugged at her every step. Because Naomi hadn't walked into this room alone. She had walked in with her twins, 5-year-olds with boundless curiosity and stubborn grins. She had left them in the care of a trusted sitter nearby, but in truth, they were never far. They were in her every heartbeat, her every thought, her every fear. Naomi knew this room wasn't safe for her. Too many eyes, too many memories. And the risk of him. She had spent years burying what once was, guarding her children's truth as if it were life itself. She wasn't ready for him to know. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Adrian, unaware, glanced over the rim of his glass. The sight of her hit like a blade pressed against his ribs. Naomi. The name echoed, unwanted and undeniable. For a moment, he thought he had imagined her, his mind conjuring ghosts again. But she was real. She was here. And the ground beneath his carefully arranged world shifted violently. He inhaled sharply, memories rushing, her laughter in the mornings, the fight that ended them, the slammed door that never reopened. He remembered her eyes, the way they had accused him of choosing ambition over love. He had told himself for years she had moved on, found someone better, someone who gave her the life she deserved. But she was alone. Standing, composed, but with a fragility he recognized instantly. She hadn't changed, not really. She had only become stronger in the places where life had once broken her. Adrian moved before he could stop himself. The crowd parted like water around him, his presence still commanding even when his heart stuttered in his chest. He reached her, the air between them taut, trembling. Naomi. His voice was lower than he intended, threaded with disbelief. She turned, her breath catching in a way she hated. His eyes, the same eyes she saw mirrored every morning in her children, met hers, and she felt the years collapse in a single instant. She steadied her hand on her purse, forcing herself not to falter. Adrian. The name was steel on her tongue. For a moment, neither moved. The ballroom buzzed around them, but it was muted, irrelevant. His gaze searched hers for answers she refused to give. Didn't think I'd ever see you again, he said finally, his attempt at composure failing to hide the rough edge of emotion. I wasn't planning on it. Her words were quiet, sharp. Something shifted in him. Beneath the tuxedo and polished charm, his chest tightened with an ache he couldn't disguise. There was something different in her presence tonight, something beyond the tension of old wounds. A shadow of exhaustion. A secret held too tightly. Before he could press further, a voice boomed across the room. calling his name for a toast. The moment shattered, leaving only questions. Naomi exhaled, silently pleading for the night to end. She had survived 5 years without him. She could survive this. But as she turned away, Adrian's eyes lingered. He couldn't shake the feeling. Something was being kept from him. Something important. Naomi slipped out of the ballroom early, clutching her phone. She needed to get back. To them. To the 2 little souls waiting with bedtime stories and warm milk. She had promised herself she would never let Adrian Cole into their world. Not after the heartbreak, not after the betrayal of love sacrificed to power. But as she opened the door to the quiet apartment later that night, and 2 pairs of identical eyes, his eyes, lit up with joy at her return, Naomi felt the universe beginning to conspire against her carefully constructed walls. She could hide the truth for now. But she couldn't outrun fate forever. What would you do if the past you thought was buried suddenly stood in front of you, demanding answers? Stay with this story, because the next chapter of Adrian and Naomi's lives is only beginning. The morning after the party, Adrian Cole sat in his penthouse office, but the city skyline outside his floor-to-ceiling windows barely registered. Deals, deadlines, board meetings, all the things that once defined him, blurred into insignificance. His mind circled only one truth: Naomi was back. And she wasn't alone. That look in her eyes last night, defensive, almost cornered, wasn't the look of a woman living freely. It was the look of someone protecting something. Someone. He remembered the sharp resemblance, the way her eyes flickered when he stepped too close. His chest tightened at a possibility he hadn't allowed himself to imagine until now. Children. The word echoed through his veins like a drumbeat. He had never wanted to be the man who brought children into a broken home. But what if it was too late? What if Naomi had already done that, without him? Meanwhile, across town, Naomi stirred sugar into her coffee as the twins argued playfully over who got the blue spoon. The apartment smelled faintly of toasted bread and strawberries, but her stomach twisted too much to eat. Her daughter, Nia, tilted her head. "Mommy, why are you looking like that?" Naomi blinked, masking her worry with a smile. "Like what, baby?" "Like when you're thinking too hard," her son Noah piped up, his mischievous grin making her heart ache. He had Adrian's grin, no matter how much she tried to deny it. Naomi reached across the table, brushing crumbs from Noah's cheek. "Because your father saw me last night," she thought silently. "And I don't know if I can keep hiding you forever." She pushed the fear down and forced her voice light. "I'm just thinking about work. Eat your breakfast, you two." But her mind replayed Adrian's voice, his eyes, the stunned recognition she had barely deflected. He would come looking for answers. Adrian Cole had never been a man to leave questions unanswered. By late afternoon, her fears proved right. A knock rattled the apartment door. Naomi froze. The twins were coloring on the living room rug, crayons scattered like fallen stars. She crept to the door and peeked through the peephole. Her chest constricted. Adrian. She almost didn't open it. Almost pretended not to be home. But his persistence, one firm knock, then another, left her no choice. With trembling fingers, she unlatched the door. He stood there in a crisp navy suit, sunlight cutting sharp angles across his face. He looked every bit the billionaire the world admired, yet his eyes betrayed something raw, desperation. "Naomi." His voice was quieter than last night, softer, but weighted. "We need to talk." Her instinct was to slam the door, to protect the fragile world she had built. But the twins' giggles floated behind her, innocent and unknowing, and she realized the fight wasn't just hers anymore. She stepped outside, pulling the door half shut behind her. "There's nothing to talk about, Adrian." He studied her, jaw tightening. "Don't lie to me. You're hiding something. I saw it last night." Her pulse quickened. "You don't get to walk back into my life and demand answers. Not after everything." "Naomi," he said, and for once his voice cracked, not with anger, but with something close to pleading. "I need to know." Before she could respond, a small voice called from inside, "Mommy, who's at the door?" Naomi froze. Adrian's gaze flicked past her, and the moment stretched into eternity. 2 small heads peeked around the doorway, curiosity spilling from their wide eyes. Noah's grin flashed first. "Hi," he chirped, completely unaware of the storm unraveling between the adults. Adrian's world tilted. He stared at the boy, at himself younger, unfiltered. The same eyes, the same grin, the same stubborn tilt of the chin. Then he saw Nia, standing a step behind, cautious but radiant, her curls tumbling around her face. And her eyes, those were Naomi's, but the shape, the spark, it was his too. His breath caught audibly. He couldn't finish. His hand trembled at his side, the weight of realization slamming into him. Naomi's voice was low, urgent. Adrian, don't. But the damage was done. The twins padded closer, oblivious. Mommy, is this your friend? Nia asked, tilting her head. Naomi swallowed hard, heart racing. She couldn't lie in front of them, not with Adrian staring at her as if the entire earth had just cracked open. Go back inside, sweethearts, she whispered. Mommy will be there in a minute. Reluctantly, the children obeyed, though Noah cast one last curious glance at Adrian before darting back to his crayons. The door shut behind them, and silence enveloped the hallway. Adrian pressed his hand to the wall, steadying himself. His voice was a whisper now, almost broken. They're mine, aren't they? Naomi closed her eyes, tears threatening. This was the moment she had feared for 5 years, the moment her carefully constructed world collapsed. Yes, she breathed finally, her voice a fragile shard. They're yours. Adrian staggered back, as though the air had been knocked from his lungs. For a man who had conquered boardrooms, commanded markets, and built empires, this truth undid him completely. His empire suddenly seemed meaningless compared to the 2 small lives he had never known. Naomi's eyes hardened. But don't think you can just walk in and claim them. They don't know you. You don't know them. And I won't let you break their hearts the way you broke mine. Adrian's chest ached with guilt, but beneath it was something fiercer, undeniable. Naomi, I don't want to hurt them. Or you. I need to know them. Please. Her resolve wavered, but fear won. You don't get to decide that. She stepped back into the apartment, shutting the door between them. The lock clicked, a barrier both physical and emotional. Adrian stood motionless, staring at the closed door, his reflection faint in the polished brass. His hands curled into fists at his sides. The city roared outside, but in that hallway, there was only silence. And in that silence, Adrian made a vow. He wouldn't lose them, not Naomi, not the children he had just discovered, not this second chance fate had thrust into his hands. But winning them back would demand more than wealth or power. It would demand the one thing he had never learned to give freely, his heart. Naomi sat at the edge of her bed long after the twins had fallen asleep, the hum of the city beyond her window pressing against her chest like a weight. The confession had slipped out before she could stop it. Yes. They're yours. The words echoed relentlessly. She wanted to take them back, to protect her children from the storm she knew was coming. But the look on Adrian's face, equal parts devastation and wonder, was seared into her memory. Still, she couldn't afford to soften. Adrian Cole might have money, charm, influence, but he had also left her once. And Naomi had spent years rebuilding herself from the ruins he left behind. She wouldn't let him wreck her or the twins. Meanwhile, Adrian paced the length of his penthouse, the city glittering beneath his restless strides. His mind churned with images of the children, his children. 5 years of birthdays he'd missed, 5 years of first steps and first words lost to silence. The ache was unbearable. He wanted to storm back to Naomi's door, demand a chance to know them, to make up for lost time. But Naomi's warning replayed in his head, you don't get to decide that. For the first time in years, Adrian felt powerless. The next day, his best friend and business partner Daniel found him staring blankly at a half-finished whiskey in the corner of a private club. Adrian, you look like hell. What's going on? Daniel slid into the booth, his jovial smile fading as he studied his friend. Adrian hesitated, then ran a hand through his hair. Naomi. Daniel's brows shot up. Naomi? As in Naomi James? I thought she. I saw her at your party, Adrian interrupted. His voice was rough, unsteady. She has kids, Daniel. Twins. He exhaled heavily. They're mine. Daniel blinked, stunned. Holy, Adrian, are you sure? One look, Dan. I knew. They're me. And she admitted it. Daniel whistled low. So what's the plan? Adrian's jaw clenched. That's the problem. She doesn't want me involved. Daniel leaned back, considering. Look man, I know Naomi had her reasons for leaving. You weren't exactly gentle with her back then. But this is different. Those kids deserve to know their father. Adrian's eyes darkened. And I deserve to know them. Back in her apartment, Naomi vented her turmoil to her closest confidant, Layla. You told him. Layla gasped, clutching a mug of tea like it might shatter. Naomi rubbed her temples. I didn't mean to. The twins popped out, and he just knew. I couldn't lie anymore. And how did he take it? Naomi's laugh was bitter. Like the world collapsed. But I can't let him in, Layla. He left once. He'll do it again. And my kids, her voice broke. I can't let them feel that kind of abandonment. Layla reached across the table, squeezing her hand. Naomi, you're one of the strongest women I know. But maybe Adrian deserves a chance to prove he's not the same man. Naomi shook her head fiercely. I'm not gambling my children's hearts on a maybe. The battle lines were drawn. For the next week, Adrian tried everything short of legal action. He called. He sent letters. He even delivered gifts for the twins, books, puzzles, things he thought they might like. Naomi returned them all unopened. Finally, one afternoon, he caught Naomi outside the twin school, her hands full of backpacks and lunchboxes. She froze when she saw him waiting at the curb. Adrian, what are you doing here? Her voice was sharp, protective. I'm not here to cause a scene, he said quickly, holding his hands up. I just wanted to see them. From a distance. Please. Naomi's grip on the backpacks tightened. This isn't fair. You don't get to lurk around their lives like a ghost. His expression hardened. Then let me in properly. I'm their father, Naomi. You can't erase me. Her anger flared. Where were you when I needed you? When they needed you? You chose your empire over us, Adrian. You don't get to rewrite history because you're suddenly ready. Adrian flinched, the accusation cutting deep. I didn't know, Naomi. You never told me. Her eyes flashed with pain. And you never asked. The silence between them was thick, laced with years of unspoken blame. Around them, children laughed and parents chatted, oblivious to the battlefield at the curb. Naomi turned away, guiding the twins toward their car. Adrian stood rooted, watching as his son tugged on her hand and his daughter twirled in her dress. He ached with longing, but Naomi's walls loomed impenetrable. That night, Naomi tucked the twins into bed, their sleepy voices asking innocent questions. Mommy, who was that man? Nia whispered. Naomi smoothed her daughter's curls, her throat tight. Just someone from Mommy's past, sweetheart. But he looked at me funny, Noah murmured. Like he knew me. Naomi kissed their foreheads, forcing a smile. Don't worry about it. Mommy's here. Always. But when she closed their bedroom door, tears slid silently down her cheeks. On the other side of the city, Adrian sat alone, staring at a photo he had secretly snapped on his phone, Noah's grin, Nia's shy smile. They were his, yet so far beyond his reach. He poured himself another drink, but didn't touch it. Instead, he whispered into the night, I won't stop, Naomi. Not this time. The school auditorium buzzed with chatter, the scent of fresh paint and old wood mingling in the air. Rows of folding chairs lined the floor, each reserved for parents eager to watch their children perform in the spring recital. Naomi adjusted Nia's bow and straightened Noah's collar backstage, her nerves taut. The recital was supposed to be a safe, joyful day. A celebration of her children, not a confrontation with the past. But when she stepped into the audience, her heart lurched. Adrian was there. Seated near the front, his dark suit stark against the pastel decorations, he looked out of place yet immovable, as though he belonged to every room he entered. His eyes caught hers instantly, an unspoken collision. Naomi's instinct was to flee, but parents were already finding their seats. To leave now would only draw attention, and questions from her children. She clenched her jaw and forced herself down the row, choosing a chair as far from him as possible. The lights dimmed. When the curtain rose, All other noise faded. Nia twirled with shy precision. Noah stomped with unrestrained joy, their laughter carrying through the auditorium like sunlight breaking storm clouds. Naomi's chest swelled with pride. For a few moments, she let herself forget Adrian's presence. But when the performance ended, applause thundered, and the twins' eyes lit up searching the crowd. Their gaze locked on Adrian, who had risen to his feet, clapping with unguarded pride. Nia whispered something to Noah, and together they waved at him. Naomi's breath caught. Her children had noticed. And worse, they seemed to recognize something familiar in him. Afterward, chaos filled the hall as families embraced their children. Naomi tried to usher the twins toward the exit, but Noah darted off first, running straight into Adrian's waiting arms. Naomi's heart stopped. "Hey buddy," Adrian said softly, crouching to meet Noah's eyes. "You did amazing out there." Noah beamed. "Thanks. You liked it." "More than you know." Adrian's voice cracked on the last word. Nia hovered shyly, clutching Naomi's hand, but her eyes flicked toward Adrian with unmistakable curiosity. Naomi knelt beside her, whispering firmly, "Sweetheart, come on. We're leaving." But a teacher approached with a clipboard, smiling brightly. "Parents, just a reminder. Please stay to sign your children out before they leave with you. Safety first." Naomi's stomach twisted. The line for signatures stretched across the auditorium. They couldn't slip away unnoticed. And Adrian wasn't moving. The forced proximity gnawed at her nerves. She had no choice but to wait, twins bouncing beside her, Adrian lingering only a few steps away. "Naomi," he said quietly, careful not to draw attention. "Please. Just let me talk to them. 2 minutes. That's all I ask." Her glare was sharp enough to cut. "You've had 5 years to ask, Adrian. Don't think you can swoop in now because fate handed you a stage." "I didn't know," he hissed back, frustration etched in his jaw. "You kept them from me." Her breath caught, fury and pain colliding. "Because you chose your empire over us. You made it clear I didn't matter." His voice softened, aching. "I was wrong. Don't punish them for my mistakes." Before Naomi could retort, the teacher called her name. She stepped forward to sign, the twins tugging impatiently at her hands. But as she bent to collect their backpacks, disaster struck. Noah tripped over a chair leg, landing hard with a yelp. His cries echoed, drawing sympathetic gasps. Adrian was the first at his side, steadying the boy, checking his knee. "You're okay, champ," he soothed, brushing dirt away. His movements were instinctive, protective, the way only a father could move. Naomi froze, torn between relief and resentment. "See, Mommy." Noah sniffled. "He helped me." The auditorium's buzz seemed to magnify the moment. Parents glanced curiously, sensing something beneath the surface. Naomi's cheeks burned. She ushered the twins out quickly, but Adrian followed. In the parking lot, tension crackled under the dim streetlights. The twins darted ahead toward their car, chasing each other's shadows. Naomi whirled on Adrian. "Stop following us." "I can't." His voice was raw, stripped of billionaire polish. "Naomi, this isn't just about you and me anymore. Those kids are mine. And every second I don't know them feels like a theft." Her eyes flashed with tears. "You don't get to use words like theft. You gave me nothing but silence when I needed you most." "I can't change the past," he admitted, his voice trembling. "But I can fight for the future. I will fight." Naomi's breath caught at the fierce promise in his tone. Before she could answer, Noah called, "Mommy, can he come to the ice cream place with us?" Time froze. Naomi turned, wide-eyed, as both twins stared expectantly. Innocence radiated from their faces, unscarred by the complicated history between the adults. Her heart squeezed painfully. She wanted to shield them, to say no, to slam the door shut forever. But their voices, their hope, it cracked something inside her. She swallowed hard, forcing composure. "Not tonight," she said firmly. "Maybe another time." The twins groaned in unison, but Naomi ushered them into the car. Adrian stood motionless, watching as the taillights disappeared into the night. His hands clenched into fists. He could feel the ticking clock now. The longer Naomi resisted, the more his children grew without him. And he refused to let time steal them away again. The night was restless for Naomi. Long after the twins had fallen asleep, she sat curled on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders, staring at the shadows flickering across her walls. Every time she closed her eyes, the past rose up, unforgiving and sharp. Adrian's face, his voice, the ambition that had consumed him like a fever. She had loved him once with a fire that terrified her. But love alone hadn't been enough. She reached for the small wooden box she kept tucked under the coffee table. Inside were remnants of another life, a wedding photo, a faded note, a hospital bracelet. She brushed her fingers across the photograph, her chest tightening. In it, she and Adrian stood on the steps of the courthouse, freshly married, smiles too wide for the moment. Naomi remembered the way his hand had clasped hers tightly, as though nothing could pry them apart. She had believed in forever then. But forever had been shorter than she'd imagined. It had been a stormy night 5 years ago. Rain hammered the windows of their penthouse while Naomi sat on the sofa, her hands trembling around the pregnancy test. 2 pink lines. When Adrian walked in, his tie loosened and exhaustion etched across his face. She had risen, her heart in her throat. "Adrian, I need to tell you something." He barely glanced up, his phone buzzing incessantly. "Can it wait? The board's pressuring me about the merger. If we don't close this deal." "No, it can't wait." Her voice cracked, drawing his attention. She held the test in her hand, showing him. "I'm pregnant." For a fleeting second, joy flickered in his eyes. Then the weight of responsibility seemed to crush it. He sank into a chair, rubbing his temples. "Naomi, this timing." "Timing," she repeated, her heart plummeting. He sighed, torn. "This merger is everything. If I can just get through the next 6 months, our future will be set. The company, the house, everything we've dreamed of. Our future." Tears spilled hot down her cheeks. "Adrian, I don't care about the company. I care about this baby. About us. Why can't you see that?" But his eyes were distant, locked on an empire he hadn't yet secured. "I need you to understand, Naomi. Just give me time. Please." That night, she packed a bag. She couldn't raise a child in the shadow of his ambition. She needed someone present, someone who chose her over boardrooms and balance sheets. He never chased her. Or at least, that's what she believed. In his penthouse, Adrian sat at his desk, fingers clenched around a glass he hadn't touched. He too was haunted by that night. But the truth gnawed at him differently. What Naomi didn't know was that he had gone after her. The morning after she left, he had stormed through the rain, searching for her at her friend's apartment, at her favorite cafe, even at the library she loved. But she was gone. He'd called over and over, but her number had changed. He'd written letters, each one returned unopened. Eventually, he told himself she didn't want to be found. That maybe she'd realized what he had always feared, he wasn't enough for her. So he buried himself in work, building an empire large enough to drown his regrets. But it hadn't worked. Not really. Now, with the truth staring him in the face, 2 children who carried his eyes, regret hollowed him out. A few days later, Layla visited Naomi with groceries, the twins bouncing around the kitchen. Naomi tried to focus on the chatter, but her friend noticed the shadows under her eyes. "You're not sleeping," Layla said gently. Naomi shook her head. "Every time I close my eyes, I see him. And the way he looked at the kids," her voice faltered. Layla hesitated, then said, "You know he tried to find you back then, right?" Naomi froze. "What?" Adrian told Daniel. "He said he searched everywhere after you left. Called you dozens of times. Wrote letters." Naomi's stomach dropped. "No. That's not true. I never got any of that." Layla's voice softened. "Maybe someone intercepted them. Maybe your mom." Naomi stiffened. Her mother had never approved of Adrian, calling him reckless and obsessed with money. Could she have hidden the calls? The letters? The thought made Naomi dizzy. For years she had built her life on the belief that Adrian hadn't cared enough to follow. What if that belief was wrong? That night, as Naomi tucked the twins into bed, Nia's soft voice pierced her thoughts. "Mommy, why doesn't that man come over?" Naomi froze. "What man, sweetheart?" The man from the recital, Nia said, fiddling with her blanket. He looked at me like he knew me. Like you look at me. Naomi's throat tightened. That's complicated, honey. Noah popped his head out from under the covers. But I like him. He clapped the loudest. Naomi kissed their foreheads, her voice trembling. He's not part of our family, okay? It's just us. But when she closed the door, their innocent words sliced deeper than she wanted to admit. At the same time, Adrian stood on his balcony overlooking the city. The skyline glowed, but for the first time, he felt its emptiness. He whispered into the wind, I won't let the past steal my family anymore. Naomi can hate me, but I'll prove myself to those kids. I'll prove I can be better. His phone buzzed. It was Daniel. You need to give her space, man, Daniel advised. She's scared. You can't bulldoze this. Adrian's voice was steady but fierce. I'm not walking away. Not this time. I'll wait, I'll fight, whatever it takes. They're my children, Daniel. And Naomi, she's still my heart. The air was sharp with the scent of fresh grass as Naomi guided the twins into the community park. Saturday afternoons were usually her sanctuary. Picnics under the oaks, laughter on the swings, a pocket of peace in a busy world. But today, peace was a fragile illusion. Adrian was there. He hadn't pushed, hadn't demanded, hadn't shown up at her door again. Instead, he'd asked through Daniel if he could join them for just an afternoon. Naomi had almost said no, but the twins had begged. Their curiosity was too strong, their hope too radiant. So here he was, dressed in jeans and a simple sweater, stripped of billionaire armor. And despite herself, Naomi's chest tightened. He looked human. Noah was the first to break the ice, darting straight for Adrian with a soccer ball in hand. Play with me. Adrian's hesitation lasted only a breath before he smiled. You're on, champ. They set up makeshift goals, Adrian kicking gently while Noah chased with determination. Naomi sat on the picnic blanket with Nia, watching cautiously. Mommy, can I go too? Nia whispered, her eyes flicking toward Adrian. Naomi swallowed hard but nodded. Go on, sweetheart. Soon, the three of them were tumbling across the grass, laughter ringing through the park. Adrian's voice boomed with encouragement. Nice kick, Nia. That's my girl. And Naomi's heart twisted painfully at the words. When Noah tripped and Adrian caught him mid-fall, cradling him with instinctive care, Naomi's walls cracked. He wasn't performing. He wasn't pretending. He was just being a father. And the children glowed under it. Later, they sat beneath the oaks, sandwiches and juice boxes scattered across the blanket. Noah wrinkled his nose at Adrian's sparkling water. That looks gross. Doesn't it taste like angry bubbles? Adrian laughed, the sound startlingly unguarded. Angry bubbles? Nia giggled. Mommy doesn't like it either. Naomi smirked despite herself. I told you. Sparkling water is a scam. Paying extra for fizz. Adrian raised an eyebrow. Says the woman who used to spend $20 on fancy herbal teas. Naomi blinked, then chuckled, unexpected and reluctant. You remember that? Of course I do. His gaze softened. You said chamomile tasted like hugs. Her laughter faltered, replaced by a pang of memory. For a moment, the years fell away, and they were just Adrian and Naomi again, two people teasing over drinks, not two exes divided by heartbreak. Noah's voice cut through the silence. So, if you don't like bubbles, Mommy, does that mean you like Daddy's water? Naomi choked, heat flooding her cheeks. Adrian's eyes widened, then softened with something dangerously close to longing. Daddy. Naomi echoed, flustered. The twins shrugged innocently. He feels like Daddy. Naomi's throat tightened. She wanted to correct them, to remind them of boundaries. But when she saw the look on their faces, hopeful, certain, she couldn't bring herself to shatter it. As the sun dipped low, painting the park in amber hues, the twins ran toward the playground. Naomi lingered by the blanket, gathering crumbs, while Adrian approached slowly. Naomi, he said quietly, careful not to scare her off. Thank you. For letting me be here today. Her jaw tightened. It was for them, Adrian. Not you. He nodded, accepting the sting. But his voice carried weight. I know I failed you. I know I let ambition blind me. But seeing them. Naomi, I can't lose this. I can't lose them. Her chest ached. You already did. 5 years of their lives, gone. First steps, first words, first everything. You weren't there. His voice cracked. Because I thought you didn't want me. Naomi's eyes snapped to his. I searched for you, he continued, desperation leaking into every word. Cold. Wrote. Begged the universe to give me a chance. But you disappeared, Naomi. And I told myself you'd made your choice. That I wasn't enough. Tears pricked her eyes despite her resistance. My mother, she never gave me any letters. Any calls. She hated you. Said you'd never change. Adrian's face twisted, a mix of grief and rage. So you left me thinking I didn't care. And I lived thinking you didn't want me. Silence stretched, heavy and devastating. Naomi turned away, blinking furiously. It doesn't matter now. Too much damage has been done. But Adrian stepped closer, his voice breaking. No. It matters more than anything. Because it means I never stopped loving you. And I never stopped needing you. Naomi's breath caught. He exhaled shakily. I know I can't undo the past. But I swear to you, Naomi, I will spend every day proving that I am not that man anymore. Not to you, not to them. Please, let me try. Her heart pounded against her ribs, torn between the walls she'd built and the cracks forming in them. The twins' laughter echoed from the playground, a reminder of the stakes between them. For the first time in years, Naomi allowed herself to wonder, could he truly change? Could she risk believing again? The warmth of that Saturday lingered with Naomi longer than she wanted to admit. For the first time in years, she had seen Adrian not as the billionaire who broke her heart, but as a man kneeling in the grass, laughing with their children, whispering truths that unsettled her soul. But peace is fragile. And fate, it seemed, was cruelly eager to shatter it. It began with a knock. 3 days after the park, Naomi opened her apartment door to find a man in a tailored suit holding a crisp envelope. Miss James? You've been served. Her stomach dropped as she tore it open. Legal papers. Custody papers. Adrian Cole was suing for paternal rights. Her vision blurred. He had sworn he wanted to earn her trust, to prove himself. And yet, here was proof that he was trying to rip control from her hands through the coldest weapon of all, the law. When Adrian arrived that evening, unaware of what she held, Naomi's fury exploded. How dare you, she spat, shoving the papers against his chest. Confusion flashed across his face. What, Naomi, what is this? Don't play dumb. You sued me for custody? After everything you said about proving yourself? You lied to me. His jaw tightened, eyes scanning the documents. Shock flickered into rage. I never filed this. Really? Your name is right there. Her voice shook with betrayal. Naomi, listen to me. I didn't do this. I would never blindside you like this. Yes, I want to be in their lives, but not like this, not through lawyers. But she was past hearing him. The fragile trust she had begun to allow shattered like glass. You don't change, Adrian. You'll always choose control over love. Her voice broke. I will never forgive myself for letting you near them. She slammed the door so hard that the frame rattled. Adrian stood frozen in the hallway, the envelope crumpled in his fist, his chest caving under the weight of her words. The next morning, headlines exploded across the city. Billionaire Adrian Cole in secret custody battle over hidden family. Photographs of Naomi and the twins, grainy but recognizable, plastered across every gossip site. Speculation raged, illegitimate children, betrayal, hidden scandals. The story spread like wildfire, and Naomi's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She collapsed onto her couch, trembling. Paparazzi already lurked outside her building, cameras flashing as she shielded the twins from their hungry lenses. Mommy, why are people taking pictures of us? Nia asked, clutching her doll to her chest. Naomi's heart broke. Don't look, baby. Just stay close. Layla rushed over, pulling the curtains tight. Naomi, this is bad. They won't stop. Not until they get their story. Naomi buried her face in her hands. This wasn't just about her anymore. Her children's innocence, their safety, everything was at risk now. And all she could think was, Adrian did this. He brought this storm to our door. That night, Naomi made a decision. She gathered the small wooden box of memories, wedding photo, love notes, hospital bracelet. The fragile evidence of a life she once believed in. Her hands trembled as she carried it to the balcony. The city roared below, indifferent. Mommy. Noah's voice wavered from the doorway. Naomi swallowed hard. Go back to bed, sweetheart. Mommy just needs to let go of some things. Before she could falter, she tipped the box over the railing. The photo fluttered, caught briefly in the wind before vanishing into the night. The note disintegrated in the air like ashes. The bracelet glinted once, then was gone. Tears streamed silently down her face. With that act, she severed the last fragile tie to the man she had loved. Behind her, Noah whispered, "But Mommy, it looked important." Naomi's heart cracked in two. Across the city, Adrian stormed into Daniel's office, the custody papers clutched in his hand. "Tell me the truth," he demanded. "Did you file these?" Daniel's eyes widened. "What? No. Adrian, I'd never," he stopped, realization dawning. "Wait. Your father." Adrian froze. "Think about it," Daniel pressed. "He's been on your back for years about heirs. About legacy. If he found out about the twins." Adrian's stomach twisted. His father, Richard Cole, ruthless and controlling, obsessed with the family name. It was exactly the kind of move he would make. Rage consumed Adrian. His father had lit the match, and now Naomi blamed him for the fire. "I have to fix this," Adrian whispered, his voice raw. Daniel laid a hand on his shoulder. "Then fight. Not with lawyers. With truth. Show her who you are now." Naomi sat on the floor of the twins' room that night, watching them sleep. Their little hands curled into fists, their breath steady and innocent. But tomorrow, the world would still be waiting outside, snapping pictures, spinning lies. And Adrian, no matter how much he swore otherwise, was the root of it all. She brushed a tear from Nia's cheek and whispered, "I promise, I'll protect you. Even if it means keeping him away forever." Her chest heaved with silent sobs. The walls she'd built were higher than ever now, reinforced by betrayal and fear. And for the first time since their reunion, Naomi felt utterly alone. The scandal raged on for days, a wildfire neither Naomi nor Adrian could extinguish. Reporters crowded the sidewalks, headlines multiplied, and whispers spread like poison. Illegitimate heirs. Hidden wife. Custody war. Naomi moved like a ghost through her apartment, curtains shut, phone silenced. She had always prided herself on building a safe world for her children. Now that safety had been ripped away, exposed under the harsh glare of a world she never wanted. And at the center of it all was Adrian. Late one night, Naomi sat at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea gone cold. The silence of the apartment pressed down on her, broken only by the rhythmic hum of the refrigerator. Her mind replayed the park, the laughter, Adrian's arms catching Noah before he fell. It replayed his words, "I never stopped loving you," words that had shaken her more than she wanted to admit. But then came the papers. The headlines. The flashing cameras that made her children cower behind her legs. She whispered into the dark, "I can't let him destroy them. I won't." Yet another voice whispered back, "But what if he isn't the enemy?" The possibility rattled her. What if he hadn't filed the papers? What if his father truly was the hand behind the betrayal? Would that change anything? Her hand trembled as she reached for the phone, staring at Adrian's number. All she had to do was call. Ask. Listen. But fear held her hostage. Trust had burned her once before. Could she risk striking the match again? She set the phone down, tears sliding unchecked down her cheeks. Across the city, Adrian sat in his penthouse, the skyline glowing coldly through the glass. Papers were strewn across his desk, tabloid clippings, his father's signature on legal filings, evidence of betrayal. But Naomi didn't believe him. That knowledge hollowed him. For all his billions, all his power, he was powerless to rewrite the past. He could only stand in the wreckage of what he'd lost. He picked up the wedding photo he'd salvaged from a backup file, digitized, pixelated, but still precious. Naomi's smile lit up the frame, her eyes alive with love. The kind of love he hadn't seen directed at him in years. "God, I ruined it," he whispered into the empty room. "But I can't walk away. Not again." He thought of his father, cold, calculating, a man who measured love in assets and heirs. Adrian had spent his life trying to prove himself to Richard, only to realize too late that in doing so, he destroyed the only love that mattered. But now, with Naomi back in his orbit, with the twins' laughter echoing in his ears, Adrian knew his choice was clear. He could either let fear keep him silent, or lay everything on the line. He straightened, resolve hardening. "This isn't about legacy. It's about love. And I will not lose them without a fight. Not this time." The following day, Naomi walked the twins to school under a blanket of clouds. Every step felt like a gauntlet, paparazzi hiding in cars, parents whispering at the gates. She bent down, kissing Noah and Nia on the cheeks. "Be brave, okay? Mommy loves you more than anything." "Love you too," they chorused, running inside. Naomi lingered, her heart aching. They deserved normalcy. They deserved joy. And if Adrian truly was fighting for them, not against her, then maybe. But the memory of shredded headlines flashed in her mind, and her resolve wavered. Meanwhile, Adrian sat in his office, staring at his father across a polished oak desk. "You've gone too far," Adrian said coldly. Richard leaned back, unbothered. "I did what you wouldn't. Securing your legacy is my duty. That woman and her children, our name must claim them before scandal does." Adrian's fists clenched. "They are not bargaining chips. They're my family." Richard's lips curled in disdain. "You sound weak. Love makes men weak." Adrian stood, voice steady with defiance. "No, father. Love makes men whole. And I won't let you destroy mine." For the first time in his life, Adrian felt no fear of the man who had loomed like a shadow over him. His choice was made. That evening, Naomi returned home to find an envelope slipped under her door. Her chest tightened as she bent to pick it up, expecting more legal blows. But inside was no lawsuit. No threat. Only a letter, written in Adrian's hand. "Naomi, I know you don't believe me, and I don't blame you. But please, let me show you the truth. Let me show you who I am now, not the man I was then. I love our children. I love you. And I will not stop fighting for us, unless you tell me to walk away forever. If you give me one chance, meet me tomorrow at the place where it all began." Her breath hitched. She knew exactly where he meant. The courthouse steps. The place where they had once believed in forever. Her heart thundered. This was his choice. His vulnerability. Now the question was, would she make hers? Naomi sat on the edge of her bed, the letter trembling in her hands. The twins' soft snores drifted from their room, anchoring her in the present while the ghosts of her past pulled her in every direction. Her eyes closed. She could ignore him, protect her children, bury the what-ifs forever. Or she could go, and risk everything, including her heart. The clock ticked past midnight. And Naomi whispered to herself, "Do I dare?" The letter slipped from her trembling fingers, landing on the floor like a fallen leaf. If you've ever stood at a crossroads between fear and love, between holding on and letting go, what would you choose? Tell us in the comments, because your choice might just inspire someone else's story. The morning dawned gray, clouds hanging low over the city as though even the sky was uncertain of what the day would bring. Naomi stood at her mirror, staring at her reflection. Her dress was simple, her hands trembling as she adjusted the necklace she rarely wore. The letter sat folded in her purse, its words echoing in her chest. "Meet me where it all began." Her heart thudded. She could turn back. She could stay safe, wrapped in walls she had built with her own hands. But then she thought of Noah and Nia, eyes shining at the park whispering, "He feels like Daddy." And for the first time, she let herself wonder, maybe safety wasn't walls. Maybe it was love. She took a deep breath. And she went. Adrian was already there, pacing at the base of the courthouse steps. His hands were shoved into his pockets, his shoulders taut with nerves. This was the place where their story had begun, where two young dreamers had believed in forever. And this was where he would fight to rebuild it. When he saw Naomi approach, his breath caught. She looked both fragile and fierce, as though she had walked through storms but refused to break. For a moment, neither spoke. The weight of years hung between them. Finally, Adrian broke the silence. "Thank you for coming." Naomi's voice was tight. "Don't thank me yet." He nodded, pulling a folder from his coat. "I want to show you something. Proof. The custody papers weren't mine. They were filed by my father. He forged my name." Naomi hesitated, arms folded protectively. He handed her the folder. Inside were documents, signatures, even an affidavit from Daniel confirming the truth. Her throat tightened as she read. Slowly, her anger faltered, replaced by something heavier: grief. Grief for the years lost, the misunderstandings, the children who could have known their father sooner. Her eyes lifted, shimmering with unshed tears. "So all this time, it wasn't you." Adrian's voice cracked. "Naomi, I would never have hurt you like that. Not knowingly. I've made mistakes, God knows I have, but I never stopped loving you. And I never stopped wanting us." Naomi's hands trembled around the folder. "I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet. But I can't deny what I saw at the park. The way the kids lit up around you. The way I still feel when you're near." Hope flickered in his eyes. "That's all I need. A chance. Just one chance to prove to you, and to them, that I can be the man you deserve." 2 weeks later, Naomi sat in the auditorium again, her heart pounding with déjà vu. The twins had begged her to come, excited for their school's fall performance. This time, though, she wasn't alone. Adrian sat beside her, hands nervously clasped. The hush of the crowd mirrored that night when they had first collided again, when applause had thundered around them like fate itself. As the curtain rose, Noah and Nia stepped into the spotlight, their small voices carrying across the room in song. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes, just as before, but this time when she glanced sideways, Adrian was there. His expression was raw, reverent, undone. When the final note faded and applause erupted, Adrian leaned close and whispered, "No matter what happens, I'll be here." Clapping the loudest. Always. And for the first time, Naomi let herself believe him. Backstage after the performance, the twins bounded into their parents' arms. "Did you see me?" Noah cried. "I sang the loudest." Nia chimed in. Adrian crouched to their level, his voice thick with emotion. "I saw both of you. And you were perfect." Nia tilted her head. "Does this mean we're a family now?" Naomi froze, her breath caught. She looked at Adrian, fear and longing tangled inside her. Adrian reached out, gently covering her hand with his. "That's up to your mom," he said softly. The twins glanced at Naomi, wide-eyed with hope. And in that moment, she knew the truth. Walls might protect, but they also suffocate. Love was risk. But love was also life. Her voice trembled, but her decision was clear. "Yes. We're a family." The twins squealed, throwing their arms around both parents. Naomi laughed through her tears, Adrian's eyes shining with gratitude. Later that evening, the four of them walked hand in hand through the quiet streets. The city lights glimmered, but for Naomi, the world felt softer, warmer, brighter than it had in years. Adrian squeezed her hand gently. "Naomi, I know forgiveness won't come overnight. I know I have to earn it, every single day. But thank you for this chance." Naomi leaned into him, her voice tender. "We can't rewrite the past. But maybe we can write something new. For them. For us." He stopped, turning to face her beneath the glow of a street lamp. His gaze held hers with aching sincerity. "Then let me start now." And when his lips met hers, it wasn't the kiss of young lovers blinded by dreams. It was the kiss of two souls who had walked through fire, broken and rebuilt, choosing each other not out of need but out of love reborn. The twins laughed and clapped, echoing the applause that had brought them back together. And for the first time Naomi knew, this was forever. Sometimes love isn't about starting over, it's about finding your way back. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs hope today. And tell us in the comments, do you believe love can survive time, distance, and heartbreak?
Thank you so much for watching this story to the very end. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and join our family. because many more powerful and emotional stories are on the way. And I'd love to hear from you. So drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. This is Mr. Crown Stories, where every tale touches your heart.